Dr. Arlen. Obviously, got Dr. Arlen here to the left and got Nick Hurd here to the right. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, we got another live episode, conversation, just going through a special conversation today, talking about recruiting and scouting. Us being behind the scenes a lot of the time. Um, People, parents, athletes may not see us as a part of the recruiting process as much, but as we'll go through today and we'll talk about what we do definitely impacts recruiting and it definitely impacts how you're scouted as a player. So we want to have this conversation to make sure you guys stay informed and that you guys understand, like you said, where we're at in the conversation in the relationship with your future coaches, let alone your current coaches. So yeah, before we get into it, let's go quick introductions. I always try to get the audience familiar. So, I mean, I'm Herman Senor, owner of Good Enough 2, basketball trainer, apparel and merchandise manufacturer, former professional player, former college coach, and just trying to help the athletes get to where they want to get to, help businesses get to where they want to get to. You want to go first, Doc?
Absolutely. I'm Arlen Magelitz. I'm a doctor of physical therapy and I'm the founder of Magelitz Clinic. So we're a physical therapy clinic. We basically specialize in any high performance. So whether you're a hiker or basketball player or a soccer player, whatever you want to do, if you do it at a high level, we help you do it without pain.
Awesome. I'm Nick Hurd, and I'm a basketball skills trainer, and I'm also the owner of Built to Destroy Personal Training. And I'm just happy to be here with these two guys right here. Congratulations, by the way, on this new placement.
Thank you. Thank you. It's amazing.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to come back and give you guys a tour.
Absolutely, yes.
And maybe some more mic'd up in a new location.
Absolutely, yes. We'll be shooting more mic'd up for sure.
Yeah, I gotta come back for round 2. What did I say? We gotta do the Mythbusters.
The Mythbusters episode, absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
And I know you guys have one as well, so they're gonna
Yeah.
run it back
I said
too.
we got another one we're running back to as well.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it's a beautiful place. If you guys got any pain, we can stop that, cut that out. Come down to Magelitz Clinic.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, but to intro into the recruiting and scouting, yeah, just want to start with a stat. According to NCAA recruiting surveys and interviews conducted by USA Basketball and the National Association of Basketball Coaches, also NABC, 70% of college coaches rank availability and reliability as top 3 evaluation traits when recruiting athletes. So that 70% of college coaches rank availability and reliability as top 3 evaluation traits when recruiting athletes. That's what we're talking about here. Physical therapist, strength and conditioning coach, and even me as a trainer on the court, we're constantly assessing where is the athlete at. A lot of people say like 1 to 10, or like this says, kind of like on a scale of 0 to 100%, like how fit is the athlete? If they got hurt on Friday, can they play on Saturday? If they got hurt on Saturday, can they play on Tuesday? That's probably a lot of
Yes.
where you're going to come into play, and that's what the college coaches are saying. Is this kid prone to injury? Will I be able to take them? I know. Before I let you guys go, I want to just get out of my head. Overseas, a lot of players that were injured in college couldn't play overseas because they were always injured in college, and it's like, if you just had a surgery, you're probably going to have another surgery, and we don't want to pay for that,
Yep.
right? So yeah, so availability and being reliable. Talk a little bit about how your role plays in that.
So there's kind of two ways you can go with it. One, just the availability and reliability of them showing up for sessions with me when they're hurt and such.
Hmm.
I can tell my higher level athletes are the ones that consistently show up. They're not flaking. They're not canceling. They want to be here. They want to get better.
Hmm.
So there's a direct correlation between how reliable you are on showing up for an appointment with me or training with you guys or whatever it is. If you're reliable and you stick to your word and do what you say you're going to do, it usually ends up with you being at a higher level there.
Hmm.
So from that realm, as well as the actually being available to play. If
Yep.
you are injured and consistently injured, the poster child of that being like Derrick Rose,
Yeah.
right? You you might have tons of talent, you might have tons of potential, but if you're not actually on the court playing and practicing, it doesn't really translate
No, for sure.
into anything.
Yeah, if you're not able to play, coach, literally can't use you.
Yeah,
So it's like,
sorry.
yeah.
Exactly.
And if you're not showing up to do the extra work, understanding your body,
Yep,
then coach probably isn't trusting that you're doing it when nobody's looking. So,
exactly.
and that kind of brings me into the no, you do on the court, but also specifically in the weight room. Though, if somebody's not showing up for the weight room on time, or they're constantly like complaining about doing hard lifts and stuff
Yeah.
like that, when a college coach, they a lot of coaches ask the players' other coaches, right? When they're recruiting them. So they might hit you up and be like, well, what's this player like in the weight room? If they constantly don't want to do heavyweight, they don't want to do their 3 rep max or their 5 rep maxes or whatever. How does that play in like, your role in trying to help them get to college?
Um, it helps. It helps. My role helps in regards of, I would say, asking the right questions,
Mhm.
seeing what are their aspirations and what do they actually want to do in the sport. And that is kind of a gauge on how I hold them accountable to what they say. You know what
As
I
in,
mean?
like, if they haven't expressed to you that they want to go pro or anything, then
Yeah,
you'll
yeah.
probably give them a little bit more leeway, or
Well,
what do you think?
I wouldn't say
Not leeway, but
yeah, I wouldn't say so much leeway. I would say in terms of a kid when they are wanting to play their sport or wanting to be available or wanting to be at their best, a kid's best might not be wanting to be pro.
yeah,
You know what I mean? They might have an aspiration of just wanting to make the team, just wanting to start. You know what I mean? Their mindset might not be to that point of wanting to go pro yet. But you still don't shortchange them if they have the right attitude about it. Now, if they don't have the right attitude about what's going on and working out, that's where you might have to, have more conversations to say, in so many words of like, um, what are we doing here?
yeah,
Let's reevaluate, let's reassess. And sometimes, when it comes to kids, um, when they're young, as much as it is about working hard and excelling, it's also about having fun too and having that good experience. Because I learned this later on in my training. I didn't understand when I was younger, is that sometimes a kid they just might just want to have the best experience in middle school, high school, or even in college. It might not be about the aspirations of going pro. It just might be about having that good experience, while playing. And that's where we come in is help them excel. Even like you were saying, like as far as like, injuries or staying available. Um, that all plays a part in the communication. We got to do our best job at communicating, and so we can get the most out of them, because kids, a lot of times, teenagers, whatever, what have you, they don't always communicate the best.
hmm
They might give you one word answers, short phrases. I'm fine, it's all good. You know what I mean? but
yeah,
but we know, what I mean, we know. And I think as far as like, pulling the best out of them and making sure, like you said, like they're available. I think that just comes along with how well we communicate. You know what I mean? And we all got, a lot of experience in the game. We know, what certain things mean, and how a player, when you're with them for so long, um, they might say one thing, but we know another. You know what I mean? And it just comes along with, I would say, just being creative.
hmm
That's huge in this game, is being creative to get the best out of a player and making sure that they're locked in, because I think we tend to be locked in more consistently than a child or a high
for
schooler
sure,
might be locked in,
of
because they
course.
don't even they don't a lot of times they don't understand what locked in looks like.
Yeah, they don't know what's coming next. They don't know
Exactly.
how to get to that next level. That's
Yeah.
what we're there for,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, so that kind of brings me to our first question. Um, and I kind of have my thoughts on the answer. If you ask a Division 1 coach, they'll have their thoughts on this answer, but and a parent might have their own thoughts. Who actually is responsible for saying the kid is available? Like I said, if they got hurt on Friday and they come to see you Saturday morning and they play again Saturday night, or they, like I said, they got hurt on Saturday and they need to play again on Tuesday. And it's the same thing if they're already at college and they
Sure.
have their own athletic trainer, which is what you do
Yep.
basically. So who's the final say? I'll save my answer, but I want to
Yeah.
think. Who do you think's the final say on who gets to play?
I would say if we're talking like actual injury
Mhm.
standpoint, it's a team decision, but the onus of it tends to come to whatever medical professional is treating them. So
Mhm.
like the trainer or the physical therapist or the MD or whoever, but it's them taking into account what everyone on the team, the player, maybe the parents, coaches, and every other part of the team there.
Yep.
It's everyone coming together because they all know the athlete, and it tends to be whatever that medical professional, partially because they're the ones that have to own it if they're wrong,
Exactly.
and they have to deal with the liability there. But it should be a mixture of everybody.
Yep. I
I
agree.
agree. Yeah,
Say
it's a mixture. I would
team
say so.
effort.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
I would say, like I said, the coach usually would probably want to say they get the final answer. They get to sign
Yep.
all the scholarships and all that stuff. So
Yep.
they're like, "Hey, I need you to play," or blah blah blah. But yeah, the player should know. I think the player should have that final say, of course, with their own career. And but like you said, the doctor has a hand in it. The trainer has a hand in it. The strength to condition. Everybody has a hand in like, hey, if you don't go out and perform right and you tweak that ankle again, now they're gonna be looking at me like, oh well, I didn't treat him right, or I didn't let him, um, I didn't tell him to not play or something.
Yep.
So yeah, I think of course the player has to take ownership, and then they'll get their advice from everybody around. But yeah, I agree with you guys. It's a team effort, of
It is.
course, to help them understand. Because like we said, even though we trust them as athletes, they might not have that like they might not feel like they have that authority over
Yep.
themselves, and we give them that authority usually.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so being available is like the main thing that coaches are going to look for in recruiting. Is That's what I think. If you One thing about me, I didn't really get injured at all. I was always available almost every game. I played the whole game. If I sat out, it was probably I still probably played 5 to 10 minutes of the game and was like, oh, it's not worth it. But I dressed and played literally every single game. Um, Baseball, basketball, football, doesn't matter. All the way from like 5 to probably 3 to 25. So, you know, yeah, availability is what's going to get you seen. If
Yeah,
if a college coach comes and wants to watch you play, and then they find out you're not playing, that's probably the last time you're gonna hear from that coach.
Definitely.
yeah, yeah. Because like I would say it is probably the most important availability, because if availability isn't established, there's nothing else to talk about.
Mhm.
Because it goes down from there. It would almost seem like a no-brainer. Like, okay, you're available now. Let's talk.
Yeah.
But if you're not available, like you were saying, like if you weren't even at the game, there's nothing to evaluate. There's nothing to scout. There's nothing to talk about. We got to see you and then see what level of availability you are. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
the main thing is to show up consistently. You
yep,
can't show out if you never show up, and
exactly,
Nope.
you got to show up to the PT session, the S&C session, the on-court training session, and then show up to practice,
yep,
and
Yep.
then shoot extra after, and then watch film,
right,
and then do all those things again.
yep,
Right? So,
yep,
and not even talking about all the hot tub, cold tub, all
Nope.
that other stuff that they have to do, hanging out with family. There's so many things you have to do, but you gotta love it if you
Yep.
want to get recruited and earn a scholarship.
yeah,
Um, the next stat, according to NCAA probability of competing beyond high school report, fewer than 15% of high school basketball players play college basketball, and less than 3% advance beyond Division II. So that includes, playing Division I. So that means, you know, if everybody feels like they have talent, if everybody feels like they are the best in their area, then why aren't they getting these opportunities that we think they should? Do you guys think you have an answer for that?
Well, there's layers to it
Hmm.
of how talented you are compared to how talented people from bigger cities and across the country are, and how athletic you are as well.
Hmm.
You might look athletic on the court here for a small school, but if you're playing against a big school, you're getting blown past and dunked on,
For sure.
right? We use all sorts of tests to establish athleticism. functional movement screen, Y balance test, all sorts of things to test how your body moves.
Mhm.
And there's certainly layers to it. We can tell when someone comes in of how they're scoring on it. That's going to translate into how athletic you are, which of course then translates into you're faster, shiftier, quicker, you can jump higher,
Yep.
whatever there. So there's layers and levels to the talent.
Yeah. So a part of being talented is knowing why you're talented, knowing physically what your
Yeah,
talent can be and the basis of that. And you use the FMS screening for that, right?
correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So we can establish like the basic blocks of can your body do what a human body should be able to do.
Hmm.
And then, we can break down of this piece doesn't work all that well. So if we fix this, this is going to translate into better performance
Yeah.
on the court.
And it's kind of like what the NBA, NFL, all those things do for at the combine, basically.
Exactly. That's literally what they do at the combine
Yeah.
is the functional movement screen, the Y balance test. Every major league in the US, MLB, NFL, MLS, NHL, NBA, they all do that
Mhm.
because that's the gold standard of how does your body move, how much of a liability are you of getting injured, and how athletic are you?
Yeah, so it always comes back to stats, really,
Yeah.
and how you perform on paper does correlate to how you probably perform and stack up against all the other athletes. And like you said, across the world,
Exactly.
everybody's training to come to America to play sports. To be honest, the only
Yes.
sport you want to play overseas is soccer
Yep.
or football. But everything else, everybody's training to play here.
Yes.
Maybe rugby, people might want to play over there too, and cricket. All right.
Sure.
All right. Well, there's basketball, baseball, football. All the
Yep.
sports we love.
Yep.
People want to play here. But what do you think about that? Why aren't these talented individuals? You know as much as me when we're at those open gyms and
Yeah.
people from Springfield are back and we're like, you could still be somewhere or you should be on somebody's college team right now. Not really talking about professional, but college. Like
Yeah.
when guys are 18, 19, 20, 21 and they're at our runs and we're just like, we know you can still be hooping. What is it? What is it you see that it's like this is why they're here?
Uh, um, I would say it's a mix. One thing could be um, not taking personal responsibility as far as maxing out how much you're getting exposed. Making sure that you get in those environments where you're not the best.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's huge, and that's not just basketball. That's sports. Period. Like getting in those tournaments or getting on the court with people that you're not the best. Working on your game in a way that's almost like that would be like on the national scale, because we're talking about talent and we're talking about recruiting. Well, um, when you're talking about sports at a certain level, everybody's talented.
Mm-hmm.
It's that small percentage of maybe a skill set or a skill that you need to develop to make sure that you are on the best level that you can be on and get the best exposure you can. Because but there are some things as far as like that you can't control too. With the recruiting, like I said, it's so many different variables when it comes to recruiting that you still might not get the recruiting that you want.
Mm-hmm.
But that still doesn't change the fact that there might be some things about you and what you got going on within your game, as far as your skills, that you might need to max out. Like, and if we're talking about basketball, we're talking about on both sides of the court,
Yeah.
offense and defense.
Mhm.
You know what I
You
mean?
can't just be one trick.
You cannot be. You know what I mean? Especially if you're not like 6'4" and up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Certain things you can get away with if you're taller, but if you're not, you got to make sure you got to get as close to perfection as you can so you can stand out. Then we get talking about, maybe where you are playing at. You know what I mean? If you're not seeing the
Like who's
best,
your competition?
who's your competition?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Who's your competition? That plays a part too, to
Mhm.
make sure that, like, even though you're playing this competition, I gotta be real with myself and be like, okay, I'm getting 20 a game, and you know what I mean, no one can stop me. But of course, no one can stop you because you're
Yeah.
not playing nobody.
Yeah.
I gotta make sure.
I'm the biggest name in this.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
I
This
gotta
league
make sure I get
conference.
30 a game. I gotta make sure I'm this consistent at doing this and doing that, so I can be looked at and be matched against against the national talent that are by default seeing that kind of exposure. You know what I mean? And I just think that's huge when it comes to recruiting. Just kind of being real And I think again it comes down to communication, because sometimes you might as a player might say, man, I'm not getting that look, or I'm not, they're not coming to see me, they're not giving me those calls. What I mean? Well, you also gotta communicate and get that also, if you can get that support system that can help,
Yep.
you know, put you in that direction. Get a team. You know what I mean? Get us.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's why we doing it for
Yeah,
real.
yeah,
I mean, yeah. So, like you say, the talent alone isn't gonna get you where you need to be. Playing other talented people and playing those talented people at the right time. Like if
yeah,
you play the number one kid in America at Peach Jam, you're
yeah,
probably gonna get looked at regardless if you win or lose.
yeah,
Even if you miss all your shots, if you take them, you probably gonna get like they're gonna like your aggression or they're
yeah,
gonna like you high fiving your teammate or
Yep.
making passes. Like you just have to play against the best players, and I think that's one thing that I think Channel 1450, the coaches, the conference, they do a good job of trying to get people in the area to play against, the bigger Chicago, St. Louis, even Indianapolis, Kansas City type of teams. But on a normal, regular basis, it's definitely hard for our athletes around here to be seen as, well, they're playing bunch of other talented people all the
Yep.
time. Whereas we know for a fact that, our conference and even the smaller
Yep.
MSNM conference, like they're loaded with talent, and
yeah,
all those people go on to scholarship level um, schools. But when it's in the moment, in the time where we're like, all right, where are the high major or the mid major D1s at? That's when those coaches at the levels they haven't really heard of us in that
Yeah.
sense. They're
yeah,
unfamiliar. A lot of our kids that end up going D1, besides a few like Carl, I know Carl Madison, the name, but a lot of people end up going JUCO then D1.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's a lot of time where our relationships in Springfield don't help because our relationships are with the JUCO and not the
yeah,
actual Division 1. And
yeah.
like I said, it's not all about D1, but we're talking about the best of the best, right?
Right.
And if you want to play against those people that are going D1, so then you accurately know, like you mentioned, okay, well, I may not be that good, but he put up 30, but I did put up 22.
Yeah,
Like I
Yep.
did
yeah,
do my thing
Yep.
still. So
yeah,
then a coach could be like, okay, that's mid major, low major, high D2, or maybe he's a JUCO and then go D1.
right.
So yeah, a lot of times I think we don't have a good, like, I don't know, pool with that. We don't have a good luck with, getting the coaches to see our worth, but I
Yeah.
think that we're doing a better
Yeah.
job of it, of course.
And I think talent is talent too. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like even here, I think we do develop, that kind of talent. It's just the fact of um, we don't get to be tested all the time
Right.
in those settings to show that we're just as good as anybody.
Hmm.
So I think that's a big part of it too.
Yep.
Yep.
And that's why it's like I said, those people in the community like 1450 and everybody else, they when they do their job, like even like all the shootouts that we have, MLK shootout, the Uno purpose shootout, people try to get those outside area players to come, but like we're mentioning, that's only 3 times a year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whereas when they go back to their cities, every game is it's probably 4 or 5 coaches there.
Yep.
Yeah.
um, but let's talk about this next stat. According to NCAA injury surveillance data and research published in the American Journal of Sports Medicine, athletes returning from non-contact injuries lose approximately 20 to 30% of the recruiting momentum within 1 year. So to put that in quantifiable numbers, if you had 10 teams interested in you, as soon as you get injured, that means you're going to lose 2 to 3 of those coaches, and only 6 or 7 are going to be interested in you, maybe 7, 8. But I think that's pretty true.
Yep.
If you're getting hurt, I'll give you an example. Donovan, that's at Illinois right now. Um, I mean, at UIS right now. He got an offer from Illinois when he was like a freshman,
Okay.
and then he kept having injuries, and then obviously now he's at University of Illinois Springfield, still scholarship level, high level basketball. But those injuries, you get one injury, a
Yep.
few drop off. You get another injury, even more drop
Yep.
off. So, what do you think about that? What do you think about coaches that stop recruiting athletes because they're injured, and what can those athletes do to not? You don't want to gain back, but you want to still find the right
Yeah.
fit. So, what do you?
It,
What's your advice on
I
that?
mean, I totally get where the coaches are coming from because if you have a major injury, say like tear your Achilles or your ACL or something, you're kind of a liability. If you do it
Yeah.
twice, you're a pretty big liability. And
Yeah.
the biggest predictor of injury is previous injury. So if you have been injured before and you have not rehabbed to within 99.5% of what your non-injured side is, there's a really good chance you're going to get hurt again.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really good chance you're going to get hurt again if you're playing basketball at high level. Like there's just so much force production, there's so much torque happening. Like it's going to fall apart there.
Mm-hmm.
So what you can do, ideally, one is stop it before it happens.
For sure.
Right? Like be in the gym working on how your body actually works, whether that's functional movement stuff with me or general S&C or whatever you're doing. But if you have been injured, say like you're coming back from an ACL or PCL or MCL tear or whatever, like you need to get back to not just good enough, you need to get back to having the injured leg within about 99% of what the uninjured leg is. Anything less than that, it's unacceptable.
Yeah, what you kind of said, when I watch like, YouTube documentaries or just any documentary of somebody that's hurt, Kobe's an anomaly, but he's a
Yes.
great example though. Like when you get hurt, you don't want to work back up to, I think a lot of people fall in the trap. I want to work back up to where I used to be, but you're never going to be where you used to
No.
be. And it's not possible anyway. You got to work up to be a whole new version of yourself.
Exactly.
There might be pieces of who you were from the past, but you have to be a whole new athlete, really.
Exactly. And it's the time that you're out injured. It's not just that we have to rebuild the area that was injured. It's everything else around it is starting to atrophy.
Yeah.
Right. So like I have ACL kid right now that I'm getting ready for baseball season. And for the longest time, I've had him on a running program, on cycling and rowing program and swimming. Like we have to make the whole body work together again
Yeah.
at a very high level so that he can actually step back and play, in his case, baseball.
Yeah, so basically has to be more a holistic athlete.
Exactly.
And being more holistic rather than just focus on, oh, you just need to go out and throw, you just need to go out and swing, you just need to go out and field balls. Like
No.
now your body's getting adapted to the one track rather than
Exactly.
being a human being and knowing how to do everything.
Exactly.
And that'll produce another injury, basically.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it will do.
Yeah. What do you think from your perspective, the S&C on court perspective, like with these injuries?
Well, just to piggyback off of what you guys said, I think it comes down to like when you have a major injury that is looked at as a negative in that regard as far as recruiting. To me, it comes down to like, how bad do you want it?
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the thing, you could be 100% healthy and do everything right and still not get the recruiting success you want.
Mm-hmm.
But if that actually affects your recruiting that you once had, I think it comes down to how bad do you want it, how hard are you willing to work, like you said, to not only get to where you once were, but actually surpass that. So you actually, to even get to where you were before, when you have a major injury, and both of y'all know this, is like you just said, you're actually working on things to get back that weren't worked before.
Exactly.
So physically, you are when you get to where you once were, you really aren't. You at that point you are better than what you once were. You know what I mean? But as far as performance wise, you want to be better because now you're on the you gotta prove and you gotta show.
Yeah,
You
because
know
those
what I mean?
times going by.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's what comes down to how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to get back and get back that success and get back those looks? Because you got to make up in your mind that you do have to be better. And a lot of times, sometimes injuries like that, depending on when they happen, they're a blessing in disguise.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it might be at a time that it might be later on that might be worse and really take you out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When everything wasn't working as it's supposed to, and when you get older, you start getting bigger, you start getting faster, you start getting stronger. The speed of the game changes.
Yep.
That same injury is going to be 10 times worse.
Yeah, multiplied.
Yeah. So sometimes it can be where when you have an injury, like you brought up Kobe. Well, you remember when he broke his wrist or broke his hand, and then that whole time he worked on it with his left.
Left hand, yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Well, yeah, it took him out, and that timeline got broke up. But man, he can shoot with his left hand. You
Yep.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? That type of action. So it's just like it's just so many different ways to look at it. But sometimes I think it's the time to say how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
So because it can't if you don't want to let it take you out of the recruiting and take you out of the game. But there will be a time to dig deep and try and bounce back. And like y'all said, you got to bounce back better.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, and what you kind of talking made me think of sometimes that blessing is either somebody was training too hard and they got hurt and they realized, okay, I need to be smarter about my training, or they were not training enough and then now they're just itching to get back. And then now they know they have the capacity to ramp it up a little bit. And
Yeah.
so yeah, a lot of things, I believe in a higher power and God will put that in your life at the right time, divine timing, divine intervention, so that you can then know for the future, hey, you're on the right path, but you need to adjust just a little bit.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
once again, though, that's the reason why we're in there. We have relationships with them so that we can also convey that as well.
Yep.
And it kind of brings me to the next stat. According to longitudinal NCAA roster retention and performance studies, athletes supported by coordinated trainer, PT, and strength programs are nearly twice as likely to remain on a roster year to year. So, and that's in a world of the transfer portal, right?
Hmm.
But if you every day, you go into the training room an hour before practice, and that trainer's happy to see you, and they know your routine, and then you go in the next morning, you see the strength and conditioning coach, and they're gassing you up ready for you to hit your maxes. And then you go to, I'll add another one. You go to your student success coach, and they're helping you with tutoring, and you're getting A's and stuff like that. If you're doing that, then yeah, of course, why wouldn't you want to stay at that school? Like, why would you think there's going to be another family out there better for you? And it's kind of like that's basically what I'm trying to build here in Springfield with us is, why would you want to to St. Louis to train or Chicago to train when you have
Yeah.
all of these facilities, just like Magelitz Clinic and Rocket Fitness, Heron's Gym, Emmanuel Temple Church. You have all these places to be who you say you want to be when you go other places. So why would you need to go elsewhere? And put that in the college perspective. Why would you want to transfer
Yeah.
schools? So like with that in mind, why is recruiting still kind of seemed as like a handoff type of thing where it's more about what they're doing on the court? Do you think you have a thought about that? Why is it still that somebody will go from Quincy to UMSL, which is in the same conference, or go from UIS down to like a D2 down south or something like it? Do we think that all the stuff outside of sports play a more bigger role in that recruiting part, or do we think that the family that they build at the school is strong enough to keep them there? What you guys think?
I mean, I guess it depends on which school and
Of
the
course.
the family that's building too,
Yep.
because maybe there's some that just aren't strong enough to keep the athletes where they or to keep the athletes there.
Hmm.
There's also, I'm sure, an aspect, and you can, of course, talk to this better than I can. There's some that think that the grass is greener
Oh
on the other
yeah.
side, right?
I mean,
Like,
I always wanted to transfer, to try to get whatever it is, more playing time, better climate, closer to friends, blah blah blah.
sure,
But I stuck it out, and I think it did well to me
yeah,
because I had that community, and I already had those friends and stuff there, and it's like I'm already growing and improving. I might not be seeing um, the amount of results I want to on the court, but everything I would want to have is here though.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think?
I would say it could be a few things. One, like you said, Arlen, it could be you think the grass is greener on the other side.
Hmm.
Another one could be maybe the morale of the team is
Yeah,
not, to your liking.
Yeah, that's a major one too. I didn't
yep,
say
Yeah.
the locker room temp, like
Yep.
the
Yep.
vibe.
It could. Yeah. It might not be right. Another one could be like y'all was saying, as far as like the actual family and culture of your immediate like basically sports family isn't isn't strong enough. You know what I mean? It might seem too business-like, where you feel like a number. It might feel like that. You know what I mean? All those play a part. But um, to me, it's almost like sometimes the player, sometimes the player, they they have to take some responsibility too in that.
Facts.
That might not always be the case. You know what I mean? You might just see it that way, but it might not be that way. You know what I mean? So
Like they might not even be trying to utilize the resources.
yeah,
They might not be trying to integrate with the culture of the team or
exactly.
whatever.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. So it's like, and those are cues from the player that maybe who's at that college or whatever might just be feeding off of that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you keep it general, I'm gonna keep it general. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yep.
But if you take advantage and you wanna reach out and you wanna do more and be more sociable and get the support, you might get that. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yeah.
And more than likely, I think you would get that.
Yeah.
So
You get what you give kind of thing.
yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Um to kind of, kind of close it out, I I made a note here to myself that one thing I do try to help athletes do to get recruited is to help them build a player profile. That's something more professionals do, to where it's easy to just send your stats. If you're thinking like ESPN has like everybody's stats,
Yeah.
or usbasket.com, eurobasket.com, they have those stats. But I want players to be familiar with that stuff already at age 8, age 9, age 10. Like, it's never too early to, because they're playing video games and
Yeah.
they're looking at stamina and energy and
Yep.
endurance. So they should know themselves, what does that look like for them?
Yeah.
What are their strengths? What are their goals? So I have them do a player profile to understand where they're at, and I think that definitely helps. And I also want to leave with, they have to have faith, right? Um, if you put it out there, especially you put it out there to one of us that, hey, I have this goal that I want to get to. I want to reach Division 1 level. Hey, we're gonna call
We're
every
gonna do
D1
it.
coach we know,
Yep.
right? And then, especially if we believe you can be at that level. Now, if we don't think you can play at that level, then we'll say, all right, well, you need to go see my guys before you get up to that level, because it's
Yeah.
not just gonna be on the court work. So yeah, I definitely just wanted to mention that player profile, and just having a foundation of faith, is going to help the athlete to do all those things, to then see that, oh, I need to put time in this, I need to put time in that, I need to balance, or not really balance, but I need to just do all of these things to then help me build up to where I'm saying I want to go. When I get to this scholarship level, I'm gonna have to be doing all these things that are being requested of me anyway. So why not have faith and start doing those things now?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, like you're saying, like, even when they're little, start those little things like a player profile, and just small things that are like on the professional side of things. You know what I mean? And those kind of responsibilities and things you can do on your own, they start stacking up. So when you do get older and those things become a necessity, it's second nature.
Yeah.
And it don't feel like, what I mean, like, oh man, how do I do this? Man, that seems like a lot. It don't seem like a lot of work because you're used to doing those kind of things on your own. And like you said, it comes down to faith, like, and believing that, what I mean, if I take these steps, that's all it takes is taking those steps, and what I mean, and leave the rest, and like you said, leave the rest to God, what I mean, and,
Yep.
and what's gonna happen. Because you can do everything right and things might not turn out right. But like we're talking, and basically what we're saying is that, like, but if you don't do everything that you're supposed to be doing, you're not gonna get you cancel yourself out
Yeah.
immediately
Yeah.
anyway.
It's a
Yep.
0% chance.
0% chance. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
like you said, just putting that, for us too, just putting that, once we communicate with that player and they letting us know what kind of aspirations that they have and just encouraging them, then it's up to them to give us feedback on either it be verbal or physical feedback on how we see on their enthusiasm on
Mm.
what they're doing. And that actually helps us, and it helps us gauge on how, now this is how we need to approach this and approach that. But if you
Hmm.
don't give us any feedback, we can't really, it's not like we're not going to give our best, but we might be able to give you more if we see more.
Hmm.
Yep.
You know what I
We
mean?
go out of our way
Ex-
rather than
Yep.
to just talk to only people we know. We'll
exactly.
be more inclined to ask somebody,
Right.
Yep.
right? Because they're showing us that they got our back, because
Yep.
they're gonna work hard,
Yeah.
Yep.
right?
You
Yep.
know, if it I'm way more likely to show up at 6:30 in the morning to treat you before your morning practice, before school,
Mhm.
if you're the one that's asking
Mhm.
to do it,
Yeah.
right? I'm not going to just offer that to everybody because
Right.
there's not many people that are gonna that want it bad enough to take me up on that.
For
But if
sure.
you're asking like, can I get in somehow before school, before practice, because I want to play tonight, we'll find a way. We'll make it happen. Exactly.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, your dreams also often meet you where your faith is at, and that's
Yeah.
basically what I'm saying is, and I just came from church, and that's what we were talking about too. Like, Pastor Glenn was talking about, you got level five, level five prayers with a level zero, level one faith, like, and level one actions. So it's like, how do you expect to receive this abundance of joy and just all the money in the world, NIL deals,
Mm-hmm.
all the girls, cars, everything, but you don't even really show up every day.
Yep.
You don't dap everybody up at the
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
gym. You don't
Yeah.
dap everybody up before you leave. You don't text anybody, call them to see how they're doing over Thanksgiving, Christmas, over summer break if they're, keeping up with their stuff. So yeah, I definitely, agree with you guys on everything that we've been talking about so far. Do you have any closing statements about specifically about recruiting, scouting, what you guys can do to help athletes get to where they want to get to?
Definitely. I mean, on my part is of course based in the injury
Hmm.
realm. Obviously, if you're hurt, I treat injuries, but it's far more fun to prevent them.
Yeah.
To come in and say, hey, I've been having this issue. It kind of bothers me in my hip when I cut this way. Like, let's fix it now before it becomes a big issue. It's way more enjoyable on my end.
Yeah,
It's
for
usually
sure.
more enjoyable for them, and it's usually cheaper for them too, which
Yeah.
is always nice. So pain is not normal. It's okay to be tired. It's okay to be sore. We're working at a high level, but it shouldn't ever hurt when you're playing basketball. And if it does, we fix that.
Yeah. Like you said, prehab costs more or costs less.
Yes,
Prehab costs less than rehab.
Mm.
Just think about
absolutely,
that.
substantially less.
That's where we want to stay.
Um, I would just say, and it's basically what I've been saying tonight, is that like to me, my takeaway is that I want to leave is communication and encouragement.
Mhm.
Those two things. I think those are really huge. Communication, as far as just steady talking, and getting the most out of the player. That you can for them to give you feedback, and just encouraging them, and just seeing where their head is at. You know what I mean? Just throwing stuff out there to see, to see what sticks, and what they feel that they're capable of.
Mhm.
Because it's with kids, they go off of environments, and sometimes that's not always the best,
Right.
and they could be capable of so much more. But if they're not talking and you're not communicating with them and encouraging them and letting them know that they can be more, they won't give you the feedback to get them to that point of where they need to be.
Right.
So I just think that's really huge.
Hmm.
Yep.
So communication, faith, and then what do you think again?
Just take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Work hard.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's what you're
Yep.
gonna say
Yeah.
as a doc.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, we hope that this conversation has been helpful. We hope you guys have that intrinsic motivation about yourself to build relationships with people like us, to know that you're not alone on your journey to get to your dreams, especially when we're talking about getting to college. In this day and age, the landscape's hard. You got people coming back from the G League. You got
Mhm.
people coming from overseas to try to take your spot. So that's why we feel the need to even share this information with you, because we want to see the young athletes that come up from our communities go on to these colleges, and we want to support you guys. And we're just letting you know we're here to help you build relationships with those places and help you just reach your goals now and reach your goals in the future. So appreciate you guys again, of course.
Appreciate you.
Shout out Nick, shout out Doc, Herman Senor, and you are good enough too.